Hey guys, tired of feeling stuck in your dating life and striking out in the dating game? You're not alone. Maybe you just need some good coaching. Welcome to Just Ask Her, the no BS podcast for real dating advice straight from a woman's point of view. Dating expert Gracie Pleschourt and her co-host, certified life coach Tracy Pleschourt, are here to give you the play-by-play on how to attract more women you're interested in. So, let's take back control of your dating life. This is Just Ask Her.
Welcome back to episode 9 of Just Ask Her. How you doing?
Good. Feeling good today. It's a good Monday.
We're beyond the anticipation of the Vikings in playoffs.
Yeah. Wah.
Yeah. For those of you who are following, we were so excited and so hopeful last week, only to have our dreams crushed.
Whooped. It was bad.
It was bad.
It was bad. But the Rams are still in, aren't they?
I don't know. Griffin just told me yesterday that there's been so many upsets that if any year the Vikes could have
Okay, well that's not helpful.
Right. I know. All the woulda couldas.
Yeah. But if the Rams win, then I feel good about it.
Yeah.
If they get into the Super Bowl even, then I feel good about it. It's not just a fluke.
I think it's the Lions that are out now.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about.
Yeah. Yep. So it's if we were going to lose to anyone, at least it's the team that got to the Super Bowl, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they have a serious cause to rally behind right now. And so I think it would be cool. If anybody's going to, I'm not invested in any other team, but if anybody's going to do it, I hope it's the LA Rams.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
So did you watch football yesterday?
Yeah, we had it on the last couple days. We've had it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've been playing in snow. The Buffalo, I don't even know who they were playing, but they were in snow. And then the game that was before that, they were in 4 inches of snow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, we are having sub-zero temperatures here in Minnesota. My husband was gone for the last 5 days up north ice fishing. So he was in sub
Yeah.
below zero temperatures. So I found the heaviest blanket I could find. I turned on the fireplace and I barely moved off the couch yesterday. I worked
So nice.
all day. It was awesome. The only time I really got up was to let the dogs in and out.
Nice.
I watched a new series or a new, I think it's going to become a series. There's only one season out, but it's called American Primeval. And I think it's based in the it was so good. Oh, it was so good. It was very similar to parts of the Yellowstone series, the earlier, what is it, 18?
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen the trailers for those.
21. I think it was very similar to that. It was really good. I highly recommend it. I don't know what it is. I've never really been a huge history buff, but I do love the kind of cowboy and Indian type, pioneer shows.
Yeah.
There's so much drama and so much hard to believe circumstances, what they had to go through to.
Is it based on real stories?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
probably not real stories, but it's trying to replicate what it used to be like.
Yeah. And it's, it's amazing to really wrap your head around what they did to finally settle.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks that they're having a hard life because it's 11 degrees below zero, go watch that show.
I was just on a call this morning and one of my clients is from Colorado and obviously we're from Minnesota. So we're experiencing some pretty cold temps right now. My other client's from Norway and he was we experience 1 hour of light a day right now. I was are you kidding? No, they literally experience 1 hour of their day has light. It's dark the rest of the day.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that would be really weird.
oh my God. I'm like, how do you get out of bed? How do you like have motivation for the day? Like the sun not coming. I mean, it's cold here, but at least it's light out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, are you for real?
Yeah. For the people that, I mean, that sad, like, what is it? Sun something deficiency. It's
seasonal depression.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine having to live without seeing the sun for long periods of time?
I literally can't imagine. I mean, if it's all you know, maybe it makes sense. Like maybe they don't, I don't know. I can't imagine, but this client of mine is awesome. He's so cool. And he was like, you know, there are other things about Norway that are so beautiful that you don't get anywhere else that make it worth it. And I said, cause like it's like a typical thing here for like Minnesotans to be snowbirds, as we call them, where they are here for all the other seasons. Cause Minnesota is like a beautiful place to live and the winters are really harsh and cold. So people will leave when the winter hits, they'll go somewhere south to go live in a vacation home basically for the time that it's really, really cold. And then they'll come back.
These are people of a certain age.
Yes. But still, I mean, it's free. Like people know that here. Like it's a common thing. And so I asked him, I was like, is there like, do you guys have snowbirds there? Like, do people leave when you only have 1 hour of light a day? And
Maybe
he said,
they call them light birds.
Yeah. Well, he said that a lot of people travel to Spain during this time. But yeah, I was just like, wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I guess I'd call them dark birds.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was just like, whoa, that is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I said the exact same thing. I was like, I have nothing to complain about. Like these cold temps, at least there's light.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So I spent all day watching that series. And it's so funny because I'm always looking for a good, like binge worthy series, especially when, you know, the kids aren't home. Bryce is up ice fishing. It was the perfect day.
Yeah.
And I just started going through Netflix and that popped up. Like, I don't know, it was like number 6 on Netflix. I'm like, oh, this looks so good. And it literally took me all day, especially with TikTok being down.
Yeah.
TikTok went dark, which we had expected it to.
I mean, not really. I didn't think it was going to go down.
Well,
like,
once the Supreme Court upheld the ruling, I figured it was going to go down.
I did, but I thought it was going to take a while. Like, I didn't think that it was going to be immediate. And they actually closed it down the night before. So it was supposed to shut down on the 19th. And on the 18th, they shut things down for people in the US like that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like I really
you were
expecting.
Like, whoa, there goes my marketing platform.
I mean, it's interesting for me. I obviously, like all of you have likely found me on social media. Like that's the reason why you're even here listening to this podcast, probably. And so, yeah, I mean, the way I reach single men and help them with their dating lives is through my social media, and TikTok is a sizable piece of that following of mine. And I honestly have been in a place of like, you know, I can't change it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it because I can't change it. And also, like, there's other platforms to use. There's other like means and things like that. We have this amazing podcast that I love so much. And so I really wasn't that worried about it.
I will say that I was so impressed because I know other content creators who were really losing their mind over this, rightfully so.
Well,
you know, a lot of them,
that
is their
livelihood
stream. Yeah. And I know that TikTok is not your main income stream, but I was so impressed how you had decided, you know, there is very little I can control about this. And you just focused on the things that you can control. And so I was texting you, like when it went down, there was a little pop-up that kind of explained why it was down. And I screenshot it, sent it to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's down. Wow. And then I happened to take a break from American Primeval and turned on the news right in the moment where TikTok announced that it was going back up.
Yeah, it was literally 12 hours that it was down for. And so, yeah, I mean, there were creators that were, like you said, losing their minds. Like, I can't believe this is going away. And again, like there are people who have made their livelihood on that app and like started businesses on that app and things like that. And so rightfully so, I understand why people were so up in arms about it. I honestly was like, I love TikTok for what it's afforded me to do and that it's allowed me to create a following where I can help men. But I also have used it for personal reasons as well and got sucked into the holes of scrolling and things like that. And so I honestly, that was another piece of it is like, it's so easy to get distracted caught on, and just like in a wormhole on those things. And I honestly was at peace with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to do that anymore and that I would have a mental break from that aspect of it. So I'm trying to be really mindful now that it's back up of not getting sucked into it for personal reasons and more using it as the reason why I'm using it in the first place as the platform to help men and just stay very focused on that rather than for personal use.
Yeah, it would definitely save me a lot of money because I wouldn't be influenced to buy half the stuff that gets delivered here.
You are the definition of consumerism at its finest. You are so easily sold to. Yep, it's not even funny.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually like being sold to.
Good. You're really good at it.
Yep, I know. I think there might be something wrong with me, but I have recognized that in myself that I'm like, ooh, something to buy. I can't wait to be sold to. I seriously have that mentality.
Yeah, I really think you do.
Yep. So there will be no money saved by...
No, you're still going to be using TikTok
heavily
Shop.
Influenced.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, should we get into it this week? We've got several submissions. We've got a couple polls like last week, which were super fun. So we titled this one, How Do I Address Unequal Dynamics in My Relationship? Hi, Gracie and Tracy, longtime listener and follower, first-time caller. I'm a 30-year-old man in the early stages of a relationship, 6 months, with a woman who's 5 years younger than me. Before this, I was single and focused on building my career and lifestyle. While everything is going well overall, I can't shake the feeling that there's an uncomfortable dynamic between us. It seems like she feels we're an unequal match, as if I settled for her while she reached up to my level. I sense this when she offers very little resistance to my suggestions and avoids even slight disagreements. When there's a need for a discussion, she acts as though I might end the relationship over the smallest thing. Looking back, I think there were signs of this from the beginning. She seemed to want to fast track the relationship and get us to a place where I'd be too comfortable to leave. I'd really appreciate your guidance on how to address this dynamic where one person feels unequal to the other and how to create a healthier balance in our relationship. Thanks for considering my submission and keep up the great work. Best, Anonymous.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Mm-hmm. I think that it's definitely something that can happen in relationships. And I think depending on your partner's, their like attachment style is one thing that can really drive this, but even just like their differing levels of anxiety and things like that can really affect this. And I think this can be a really difficult thing to navigate in a relationship. And so I'm proud of you for reaching out and like trying to be very intentional about this, because I do think that this is something you can definitely work through if you're staying on top of it and you're communicating really well. Like this is going to be the most important piece, is how you communicate through something like this, because I would say 90% of the time in relationships, the reason why they struggle or they don't work out or they hit a lot of these roadblocks is because they're not communicating effectively. And so this is something that I think is really interesting because it's a really hard topic to have a conversation around. Like, you obviously don't want to say to her, like, do you think like you're reaching up, or do you think that I'm way out of your league or whatever, right? Like, you have to navigate this very sensitively because you don't want to insult her. I mean, I would say that the signs that you're getting are are pretty indicative of that could be what's going on for her.
Yeah.
And if it is, and you don't feel that way, and you really feel like you guys are equal and you really care about her in this relationship, then it's going to be so important to have meaningful conversations around this with her.
Yeah. I think having more of a collaborative approach instead of like pinpointing what you think she's thinking.
Yes.
And, you know, articulating in that way, it might almost sound like you're kind of placing blame.
Yeah.
I would take more of this like collaborative approach and really ask her to kind of share her feelings about the relationship dynamic. You could say something like, you know, do you ever feel like there's an imbalance in our relationship, or like your voice doesn't carry as much weight as mine?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then, you know, if so, tell her that you'd love to understand that better and really find ways to address that together. It's probably stemming from some insecurities,
Yeah.
you know, from past experiences. If this is somebody that you really see a future with, working on this with her instead of feeling like you're in this silo and speculating is going to be for sure the best approach. And it's going to be more of a partnership.
Yeah. Speculations and assumptions kill relationships.
Yep.
Like, and that I think is one of the hardest or the like trickiest pieces of relationships, is because especially the more time you guys spend together and the longer you're with each other, it's easy to start assuming what they like. I know them so well. Like, this is definitely what she's thinking. Right. And she's a completely other person than you. She has a completely other like way of thinking than you.
Point of view.
Yeah, point of view than you. And so you have to communicate these things. You have to have conversations around them. If you start assuming that she thinks you're out of her league, you're going to start showing up in ways that either prove that or in ways of like, yeah, almost this, not accusing, but
blaming,
or like not very unintentionally. I just think that it would be hard not to do that when things go awry or you have these slight disagreements, to like try to point it back to, well, you're only saying that because you think that I'm out of your league, when that's not even something she's ever said before.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you're going to want to really put an emphasis or really focus on kind of empowering her to voice her preferences.
Yes.
So consistently asking for her opinions on, you know, shared decisions, from whatever it might be, weekend plans to life choices. And then you're going to want to maybe put an emphasis on validating her opinion or her input, like really show appreciation for her ideas. Even if you do disagree, you could say something like, I've never thought of it that way. That's a great perspective, right? So those are ways that you are going to be able to kind of lift her up if your assumption is even, you know, accurate.
Yeah.
I think with that being said, it's going to be really important that you are questioning the narrative that you're hearing in your brain. It's possible that she might have this perception that you're above her, which probably does not reflect your intentions. But I think you have to reflect on how your actions are contributing to that dynamic and consider like these small shifts. So really ask yourself, is that even true? What else could be true? Every time you think that she thinks she's beneath you, ask yourself, what else could be true? That is like the best conversation to have with yourself in any circumstance, because it's really getting to the root cause of self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Is by asking yourself what else could be true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think that it's going to be very important that you are mindful of how you navigate this. Like, you're not changing how you show up in the relationship. You're just changing how you communicate. I don't think this means that you need to avoid disagreements or avoid upsetting her or whatever. I just think that opening this up for conversation, if disagreements do come up, right? Asking for her point of view, like you said, but not like agreeing with everything she says just to avoid her feeling this way, because we can't control it. If she does feel this way, you can't control that. You can't control that for her. You can support her and you can love her and you can reassure her that that's not how you don't see it this way.
Yeah. And he can play a role in strengthening her confidence.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can't change
The way she thinks and feels.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think that just the fact that you're even writing in to navigate this with a lot of intention shows that you can definitely navigate this situation. And if she does see the relationship dynamic that way, there's definitely room for changing that in her mind. And I think the best way to do that is just through communicating openly and just giving her a lot of love and support.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a huge opportunity. I think that it's going to give you a reason to really foster kind of a healthier connection where both of you get to feel heard, valued, and respected. I think, relationships, they evolve. And if you're doing the necessary work to support that evolution, it's going to create a stronger connection. So I really do kind of feel like with patience and having this like open dialogue, you can shift the dynamics. And if the bigger picture is one of you having a long lasting relationship with her, it's going to be worth it. And so I would say, keep doing what you're doing, take our advice, really don't assume.
Yeah.
Just ask her, what is it that she's thinking? And, help support her with empowering type questions.
Yeah.
You can, of course, help her build her confidence by asking for clarification. But I think it sounds like you are doing, everything right by just having a heightened sense of awareness and asking for, help. And so we applaud you, and we are, rooting for you and looking for any sort of follow-up that you might have. So
yeah,
good on you. And this was anonymous, so we don't even know his name, but thanks for writing in.
Yeah. Awesome. I know. I think that one was interesting because that's the first submission we've done of somebody that's actually in a relationship, a long-term relationship. So I think it gives an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go to the next one. This one we titled, "Is Loyalty a Dying Trait in Modern Relationships?" And I actually did a poll on this topic asking who you guys thought was more loyal in modern relationships, men or women, and the results are super interesting. So if you want to hear those, make sure to stick around till the end of the episode because that's where we'll get into the polls. But I thought it was really interesting, the results that came from that. So this one says, "Hi, Gracie and Tracy. It seems like loyalty is becoming a dying trait, especially among the younger generations. As a man who has cheated, been cheated on, and has been involved with women who are in relationships, I find it really hard to trust women anymore. My experiences have left me feeling disillusioned, like love and loyalty are almost impossible to find these days. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? Is loyalty truly fading, or is this just my perspective based on my experiences? Thanks for your time and insight, Anonymous."
Ooh, that is definitely a thought-provoking question.
It is.
I think loyalty is a topic that resonates deeply with so many people, especially in today's fast-paced, uber-connected environment. I think your willingness to reflect on your past experiences, both as someone who has struggled with loyalty and someone who's been impacted by other people's choices, is very commendable. So thank you for writing in. Let's dive into this.
I actually appreciate how honest you are in this about the situations you've been in, about being cheated on, being the person that is cheated, and also being in affairs with people. I think that it's my first thought on this is if you want to change the trajectory, then you've got to be the person that makes the change. instead of expecting your partners to make this change, I think you putting yourself in positions where you are okay with cheating on, or you suspect, and if it's you have good reason to suspect, like this person has given you reasons to suspect that they're cheating on you, or you're willingly getting into relationships with people who are cheating on their spouse. Like, of course, this is going to be a constant thought loop for you if you are constantly in experiences where there's cheating involved. And so first and foremost, it's gonna have to be you committing to commitment, I guess, right? Like if you're constantly putting yourself in these experiences, then you're likely not ever going to see relationships in a like monogamous way. You're likely never going to be able to trust that somebody you're in a relationship with could be monogamous with you.
Right. Which is going to lead you to a place of constantly trying to avoid betrayal.
Yeah.
And that avoidance is going to sabotage you.
Yeah.
So you want to stay in a place where you're focused on consistency, respect, and really prioritizing your relationship over, you know, the fleeting temptations that might be there. So, that's one thing to be aware of is, you know, if you're trying to run from betrayal, you've got to like, I am such a visual person. So I envision like standing firm, like stop running, because that's what's creating that
anxiety,
that fear of betrayal. Stop running from it and turn on your heels and stand in a place of, is this somebody that I can respect? Is this somebody that I'm willing to put in the effort on a consistent basis with? Is this somebody that I want to prioritize? Like, you've got to ask yourself those questions. And if the answer is yes, then now why? The next question is, why am I willing to do that? Like, this is all like work that is internal. It's not about the other person. It's all about you. I would also do some work on exploring your past with a lot of compassion. I think it's really easy to judge yourself harshly on the past. And, you know, if you learned from it, which it sounds like you have, I think, and I would say it goes both ways. You've learned from the cheating that you've done, and you've also learned from being cheated on. And of course, that has naturally impacted your ability to trust. But the healing is going to come from asking yourself, what did I learn from all of that? You know, one of the questions that I ask a lot of my clients is, how was that actually perfect? And typically you get, you know, kind of a blank stare back because they've never thought of it as perfect. But if you can look at the bigger picture and what you learned from it and what all has come because of that, you will start to see it in a positive light, like the person that you've become. Most of the people that I know who have been cheated on, they have become a very resilient person.
When I think, like you're saying, I think you need to be really careful of not putting labels on yourself. Like, I am the person that gets cheated on, or I am a cheater, or whatever, because you are just manifesting that narrative into your life by telling yourself that that's just who you are. You just are the person that can't commit in a relationship, or you just are the person that always gets cheated on, because it isn't, for one, it's not helpful at all.
Super self-sabotaging narrative.
Super self-sabotaging.
I mean, ultimately, you're a human being with a lot of worth, regardless of behaviors in your past.
Yeah. And so it's super important that you're looking at them as an isolated experience. And I know that can be hard to do if it's happened multiple times, or if this has been like all your experiences. it's an experience. You were cheated on, right? But you're not the person that gets cheated on. You have cheated, but you're not a cheater. If you don't want to be that person, then don't label yourself as one,
right?
Because it is self-sabotaging, and you will continue that path if you're telling yourself that this is who you are.
Mm-hmm. And if you're looking right now, if this is very new to you, this kind of work, I mean, getting coached is some of the best time, money, and energy investments you'll ever make.
Yeah.
And these are the kinds of questions or the kinds of prompts that a good coach would help you with. But if this is new to you and you're like kind of perking up and being like, I've always thought of myself as a cheater or somebody who gets cheated on.
Yeah. Someone who can't be in a long-term relationship.
Yeah. I want you right now to consider, what would it look like if you were becoming somebody who is loyal? Mm-hmm. What would it look like if you were becoming somebody who is worthy of a deeply loving and connected relationship?
Yeah.
It's all about the becoming. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want you to rally behind.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think like being coached on these things, it has changed my life. Like I've been cheated on before, and I've also been in situations that were a little questionable, like when I was younger and how I was treating my partner. And so I think that what has changed it all for me is deciding, and this might not work for you, but it's definitely made my experience in dating and being in relationships so much better, so much happier. I now look at the idea of trust and loyalty in a relationship. Like, I go into relationships with, you have my trust until you don't, because sitting in a place on the other side of that, of I'm a victim, I've been cheated on, so I need to be guarded at all times so that this doesn't happen to me again, is one of the worst places to sit in. It's so discouraging, and it constantly leaves you on edge. It constantly leaves you feeling like you're feeling now. Like, is anybody loyal? Is anybody out there ever going to be loyal to me? Like, it is a horrible, horrible place to be. And if you don't want to be there anymore, I encourage you to try on this new approach of, you have my trust until you don't, because, and that's not as a threat either. Like, it is just, it is what it is. It's a boundary. Yeah. Because living from that place, knowing that you can't control what this other person does ever, like, you can have the most loving relationship on your end and do all the loving things and do everything right, and this person still could go out and cheat. You'll never be able to control that. And if you don't stay intentional about this, it will sabotage you for the rest of your relationships, and it will be a really horrible place to sit in when it comes to dating and marriage and like relationships in general. It is not a fun place to be in. And so,
yeah. And I think I just went back and reread his submission, and I think that you had mentioned younger generations, and I think that the dating culture might feel a little different now because of apps and social media. And I also have gotten the sense that it kind of makes relationships feel a little bit more transactional. But I also believe that there are a lot of people across all generations who crave deep, meaningful connections. So
yeah,
try that thought on. Is it possible that there are people of all generations who align with your values? I also think that instead of thinking of loyalty as kind of a fading trait, consider it your best practice. Like, the fact that you took the time to write in on such a great topic, one that obviously Gracie is very passionate on. I'm like, dang girl, you preach, because it's a real thing. And I'm sure she gets a ton of clients talking about this exact topic. So,
I mean, it's such a real fear. And I think it's one that like relationships are one of the most vulnerable things in your life, and getting close in a romantic way is so vulnerable. And so of course you have thoughts of like worry or fears around trusting somebody to this level.
Yeah.
And it makes total sense. And it's not a problem that you have those fears, but you need to manage them.
Yeah.
You need to decide ahead of time that they're not going to make decisions for you in relationships, because it's no way to live.
yeah. And I do think that you will be able to rebuild that trust and that hope when you approach loyalty kind of as a skill or as a best practice. That's when you're going to reclaim that power in the relationship, and you're going to build the trust back both with yourself and in the other people. So I think everything that we have said is going to help you heal and help you build trust and build a better self-perspective or self-perception.
Yeah. I also think, just like one last point on this, is you will never cheat on somebody who you are truly in love with. I don't think it's possible, to be very honest, to cheat on somebody that you are truly, truly in love with. And I think that, yes, people make mistakes, but I think that if cheating is one of them, then there was always something missing or not working in the relationship that led to that. I don't think that it's just something that happens when you truly love somebody. I don't think that it's even an option.
And I also would say that that's not the hard and fast rule. I think that that's not where it ends. So if something was missing, it doesn't mean that you can't fill that void and the love can't be rekindled.
Right.
So hearing that, I don't want you to think that it means that the relationship is over or that it can't be healed.
It doesn't have to mean, exactly. It doesn't have to mean that the relationship is over, but I do think that it has to mean that something needs to change.
Yeah.
Something drastic needs to change in the relationship if it's ever going to get to the level of like truly loving each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say, the challenge for you is not letting your past experiences cloud the hope for what's possible.
Or determine what's possible.
Right. And I know Gracie certainly believes that you can find love and loyalty for sure again. And it starts with how you are showing up for yourself and the people that you're choosing to be in a relationship with. So thank you again for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, I think this was a really, really good topic.
Yeah, it's one that I'm glad we got to weigh in on. Okay. So, and we have a poll on this one, right?
Yep.
Towards the end. All right. So the next submission we titled, Should I Have Followed Up Better? Hi, Gracie and Tracy. Love the podcast. Back in August, I went on a date with a girl who matched everything I was looking for. The relationship I had ended a few months earlier, wasn't great, and this girl was the total opposite. She has a good career, is self-established, and even built her own house with her own hands. About a week after the date, she told me she needed a month or two to get more situated before trying to date. I told her that was more than fine and that if she wanted to continue, I'd be here. I haven't heard from her since. I'm wondering if I should have said something differently or if maybe she's just busy. How can I avoid this happening again? For some context about me, I'm a volunteer firefighter with a decent career. I have my own place and I'm pretty self-established. I've worked hard to get where I'm at and become a better person. I'm ready to find someone I truly deserve. Thank you for your time. Best Anonymous. We have a lot of anonymous today.
Yeah. I think that's worth mentioning. If you write in, and also if you're listening to this and you're like, I would want my I would want my situation on the show to get advice on, please write in. There is a link in the show notes where you can fill out a submission and have the chance for us to read it on our show. So,
well, first off, thanks for supporting the podcast. And it definitely sounds like you've put a lot of work into building the life that you're proud of. And it's certainly something to celebrate. Let's unpack this a little bit. First off, I would say acknowledge the positives. It's great that you recognize the potential with this woman, and we're very understanding of her needing her space. I think you showed respect for her timeline, which reflects a lot of emotional maturity. And I think that that's a solid foundation for any relationship. However, there's a balance between giving her space and keeping the connection alive, which I think we should explore a little bit. She mentioned needing a month or two, and it was likely her way of signaling. I watch a lot of Gracie's Instagram shorts, and she's always talking about signals that the women are giving. And so that might have been a way that she was signaling she wasn't ready to date at that moment. That said, her lack of follow-up might indicate she wasn't as interested as you had hoped. So
yeah, it definitely indicates that. I think that this doesn't discount that it was a great date. It definitely could have been, and it definitely was on your end. So don't discount it on your end. Like if it was a great date, that's amazing. There could be some things that we need to tweak in your approach on these dates, but that doesn't take away from your experience of going on an amazing date.
Yeah.
And so,
or it doesn't change your value or your worth.
Yeah, exactly. But her response back, if she was interested, she's not going to say, let's wait to have another date a month or two out. She's just not. It doesn't matter how busy girls are. It doesn't matter. She could be the busiest girl on this planet. I am a busy girl. And when I was in the thick of the dating scene, I still made time to go on dates with the guys I wanted to go on dates with. And so if women are telling you that they're busy or some variation of that, I need time, whatever, it's because they're not interested enough currently. It's not to say that won't change. It's not to say that she was never interested or whatever, but she's not interested right now. And that should be the only thing that you need to know in order to move on and to keep moving forward in your dating life. If things change and she comes back around in a month or two and says, hey, I'd like to give this another shot, or she reaches back out and tries to get together with you and you still want to give her another chance, great, go for it. But until then, this is your sign to move forward, because waiting around, putting your life on hold for a few months is not worth it.
No.
At all. You should never be doing that. If a girl says, I'm not in a place right now, I need a couple weeks, I need a couple months, all of those are signs that she's not interested right now, and it's likely going to be a waste of your time to wait around.
She doesn't deserve you anyways.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely doesn't deserve your attention for a month or two, like waiting around for her to change her mind or waiting around for her to decide that she wants to hang out with you. No, absolutely not.
Right.
You gave her chance. And if you want to give it to her again in a couple months, if she really does come back around and she's in a better spot and she can date and she wants to give you attention or whatever, then fine. But until then, enough. You're not giving her more attention than this.
Yeah. And so that's how you can avoid this in the future is, first off, prioritize yourself and know when it's time to move on.
Yeah.
So that you aren't like grasping at straws. I would say something else that I'm not even saying you should have done this. I'm just saying if this was to come up in the future, clarify intentions early. Gaining clarity is something that is going to help in the future. If somebody was to say, I'm not ready, or, give me a call in a few months.
Yeah.
If that happens in the future, you can clarify, make sure that your expectations are managed.
I think all you need to say if somebody says that is, sounds good. Reach back out when you're ready.
Putting the ball back in her court.
Yeah, put it back in her court if you want that, right? Like, that's not to say for every situation. Like, if you're like, if not now, then I'm going to move on. Great. But if you want to the potential for to explore this in the future when she is ready, then put the ball back in her court. Tell her, you know, sounds good. You just let me know when, and then you can decide when and if she circles back with you. When the timing is right for her, then you can decide. But apart from that, you're not chasing. You're not, okay, I'll reach back out to you in a couple months to.
Yeah, I do. I like the strategy of putting the ball back in her court. I think every relationship is built on, you know, mutual energy and effort.
It needs to be two-sided.
Give her that opportunity to reach out when she's ready, but you are free to move forward.
And one of my absolute favorite thoughts that I carried through in my dating life, especially for the times where I was excited about a guy and things didn't work out, my thought that I carried through was like, this does not take away from how much enjoyment I've had leading up to this point. Like, there were times where I would date somebody in the early stages, think it's going really well. And there was one time in particular where I thought it was going really well. And then all of a sudden things fell off and text messages got slower and slower. And that doesn't feel good. That stinks. But at the same time, like, that doesn't minimize how much fun I was having, how much fun I had. And my belief was, if I can have this much fun with somebody I'm not meant to be with, I mean,
yeah,
the world is your oyster.
Think
about how much fun you're going to have when it is the right person. And
so true.
I think stay in that mindset moving forward. Anytime, this is for anybody. If you're seeing somebody and it doesn't work out, stay in that mindset of, this doesn't take away from the experience I just had. This was an amazing couple of dates. It was a great experience. And period. That's it.
Yeah. And you've clearly got so much to offer. So keep trusting that that right person is going to come along and match your energy, match your commitment. You are for sure going to find that person if you stay in that place of knowing. Stay in that place of becoming the best version of yourself. You clearly have the capacity to do that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again for sharing your story and keep us posted.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So you've got some polls.
Yeah. Yep.
For us.
So we've got some good polls.
Do share.
Yes. So I do these polls now weekly on my Instagram, and it's so fun to watch these results come in. And so the first poll that I did last week was, what's the number one thing you notice about women? And the answers were her looks, her confidence, her personality, or her laugh. What do you think was the highest?
Her looks, for sure.
Yeah.
We know our audience.
And it's so funny because I think the numbers wouldn't be as heavily skewed to the looks if we were to poll women on this. But I think that it would still be the highest.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
For sure. But I think that they would rank some of these other things a lot higher than.
Yeah.
So 48% of you said her looks are the number one thing you notice.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, we're human, and I also think that guys experience this more. Like, I think guys are a little more wired to.
Well, and you didn't ask what's most important. You asked, what do you first notice? And
what's the number one thing you notice? I didn't say first.
Okay.
But it can
in
be
my
read
mind
that way.
That's kind of how that reads.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they actually read it as what's the kind of the first impression, you know, and it is, I think that that's fair that they say it's looks, because men especially are very, very visual
Yeah.
beings. And
Yeah.
so I think that that seems accurate.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by the number 2 answer though. The number 2 answer was her personality, which was 29% of you, which I think is so cute. Because when I put the poll up, I was like, it's probably going to be her looks, and then confidence is going to be second, and then personality and her laugh are going to be like tied. But I love that personality is one of the things that's up there for guys.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I think okay, her laugh maybe isn't as important, and confidence, I think that personality is a big one.
Yeah. And I also think confidence is part of your personality.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they're both reflected in the way you look. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think looks are so important, but I always tell my clients this, like, looks, yes, it should be ranked high. You should be attracted to the person you're going out with. 100%. You totally should. Also, that can build. Attraction can build. Mm-hmm. And it should not be your number one factor, or it should not be held above some of the other things. It can be equal if you want it to be equal, but it should not be above things like her personality, your guys' compatibility, things like that.
Right.
It's important. Don't get me wrong. It is important, but it shouldn't be the most important or the only thing.
Right. It shouldn't be the deal breaker, I guess, right out of the gate. Like, especially,
I think in some cases it can be a deal breaker.
I think so too.
I think if you're not attracted at all, like, that is the deal breaker. Like, you need to be attracted to the person you're in a relationship with, for sure.
I know, but if you give it a little time, to your point, attraction builds.
It absolutely does. It absolutely builds. Like, the more you get to know somebody, and this is why, people, like, you see people in relationships and you're like, damn, how did he get her? Or how did she get him? Like, it's because
I never have that thought.
Really?
I don't.
Whatever. You've never seen a couple and been like, how did
I don't know.
she get him, or how did he get her?
It's not typically based on looks for me. Like, if I've gotten to know the person, I would say, yes, my judgy-wudgy self comes out and I'm thinking, oh my God, I do not know how she lives with him. Like, it's more on the personality. Like, okay. I do think that there is often a huge gap, but that's an outsider looking in. Obviously, we don't know what.
Yes. And I agree. I do think that based on context, and this is what I'm saying, like, you've got, these people, so you're making these assumptions like, damn, she's got it going on. Like, what is she doing with him? But I think also that happens on the level of looks and things like that. I know there's men listening to this that have had this thought, like, how did he get her? Right. Like, and it's a lot of it's based on looks that you're assuming that off of. I think maybe for women, you can see it more from, like, when you know somebody and you know what they have going on in their life and you're like, what the heck? This makes no sense.
And I definitely think that there are huge differences generationally. I think this is definitely where our generational perspectives are going to differ.
I don't think for men. I think that this is definitely something men think about or have thought about before. I think a good example of this is Ariana Grande and her, I don't know if they're husband and wife. I don't know if they're married or if they're just dating. I think they're just dating. Okay. Her and the guy she's seeing or whatever. She's a super famous celebrity in America for anybody listening that doesn't know who she is. And
she is one of the, if not the main character in Wicked.
Yeah. She's been in so much, but yes. And she is dating a guy that was also in Wicked. And when they first started dating, the media went nuts. They were like, what is she doing with this guy? And it was based on looks, and it was based on, like, this guy's super successful. He's He is in the industry, same industry as her. Like, it makes a lot of sense why they're together, but purely based off of looks and things like that, like, people just blasted them as a couple. And I fell into that. And I was like, I don't know if I see it. Like, she is drop dead gorgeous and he is just kind of average looking. And then I saw him in the movie and I didn't even realize that it was him, that was the guy she was seeing. And his character in the movie is like the cutest one in the entire movie.
Is he one of the munchkins?
Yeah. Wait, no. He was one of like the other students, the one that dates he's obsessed with Galinda, the redhead, with the curly hair. Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
And he's like the cutest, like so cute in that movie. And I just like fell in love with him and his person, like his character or whatever, right?
Yeah.
In the movie. And then afterwards I put it together that they are the couple that I used to have so much judgment around. And then like seeing his character, I was like, oh, I totally get it. Like, he's so cute.
Yeah. It does beg the question though. Did she fall in love with the character or did she fall in love with the man?
No, they've been dating since before Wicked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she definitely fell in love with the man because there is a little bit like with the looks and stuff. I mean, she's just drop dead gorgeous and like the celebrity that everyone wants. And he's not this big name. He's not, but clearly she has built this love and attraction for him based on other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It kind of makes me think of the Olympian who he did oh my God, what's it called? The pommel horse.
Okay.
In the Olympics, the men's gymnast.
Yeah, and the one that won for the US.
Yeah. And he was on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you pull him out of the like limelight and you just drop him into any given day and you would probably look.
He's got this like nerdy, cute vibe about him.
And you'd probably look beyond
You'd probably
him.
write him off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have the opportunity to kind of get to know him, and obviously I've gotten to know him through
Have you? Are you guys friends now?
Dancing with the Stars. And he actually got matched with this drop dead gorgeous professional dancer. And they had such a great chemistry.
This is a great example.
It sounds like they're best friends.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is kind of illustrative of what it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
Like,
and if the men listening to this can't relate, they're like, no, like she's either hot or she's not. Like that doesn't change for me based on her personality. I promise you it does for women. I promise you. This is one of the things that builds over time for women. And so if you've ever been in a position where you're like, she's way out of my league, knock it off because she's not out of your league unless you put her out of your league.
Or and you're believing that narrative because that is a self-sabotaging narrative. And
attraction builds 100%. It builds for women based on other things besides looks. And so, anyways.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, I feel like we
laugh.
really, the laugh. Yeah. I thought that, so I guess we could go through the rest of them. So it was, first one is her looks. 48% of you said her looks. Second was her personality. 29% of you. Her confidence was in third place, and that was 13% of you, which was much lower than I thought it would be. And then her laugh was 10%.
And I think more of you would notice if the laugh wasn't on the annoying side.
Yeah, for sure. But then they probably aren't interested, right? Like if it's like clearly annoying. Okay,
but the question is, what do you first notice, right? Or what do you notice
just
most?
What's the number one thing you notice about women? So yeah.
I wish you would have put smile instead of laugh.
Oh, I should have put smile. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I wonder what that would have ranked.
Because I think laugh is, I think you're only going to notice it if it's like annoying. Scratch your eyes out annoying.
I guess.
But I do think men notice a smile.
Yeah. Women definitely notice a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's a good one. Well, maybe I'll rerun it in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the last one, this was the most interesting one, I think. This is the one based on the second submission we had on the loyalty topic. And I asked, who do you think is more loyal in modern relationships? And the answers were men, women, or no one. It's a free for all these days.
Yeah, I made the mistake of reading some of the comments on your TikTok. I think it was TikTok. Might have been Instagram.
Yeah.
When I say mistake, I'm going to underscore that. Because as your mom, I seriously want to jump through my phone and I was going to say throat punch, but I think I'd say kick them in the balls. Some of these men.
Yeah.
Oh my God, their comments. And I know it's not the men that are listening to us right now.
Yeah, no, likely not. Likely they're not taking an hour out of their day to...
No. I mean, you literally couldn't try to be any more rude and obnoxious. But anyways, those are the people who I do believe are probably responding to your polls. And so I'm guessing that their perspective is much different than mine.
It's actually funny because I think that a lot less of those people, I mean, some probably, but usually the people that are seeing my stories, the way that Instagram works is like, if they engage with my social media a lot, and there are people that are persistently haters and rude and annoying or whatever that will stick on somebody's page because they have nothing better to do. But I would say for the most part, a lot of times it's like one-offs here and there. Like I'll pop up on their feed and they're just angry people and they need to let it out.
Living a miserable life.
Yeah. And they need to let it out and whatever. Let it out on my page, I guess. Go ahead. But I would say more often than not, they're not the ones that are engaging in ways of like with my story and things like that, or they're not constant engagers. They're not showing up to my profile all the time to get my advice. And so a lot of times Instagram won't even really show them my stories. And so for anybody that didn't know that, like if you love somebody's page, engage with it a lot because you'll see a lot more of their content. You'll see their stories a lot more and things like that, because that's how it works. Instagram wants to give you the things that you like to see. And so it'll put those stories first on your page and things like that. Because there's probably people that you follow that you never see their stories, and it's not because they're not posting them. It's just because you don't engage with their content very much. And so Instagram thinks that you don't love their content. So they push other things that you do engage with more in front of you. So anyways, I actually think that it's the guys that do engage quite a bit that are answering these polls, which is why I think it's even more interesting.
Okay. So read the question.
Who do you think is more loyal in modern relationships? Men, women, or no one? It's a free for all these days.
So I'm guessing.
What do you think men said or think it?
I'm guessing that men. I'm guessing they're going to say it's a free for all.
Okay. So that was the number 2 answer. Was no one. It's a free for all these days. 38% of you picked that answer.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty high. I thought was a lot higher than what I would have expected.
Yeah. So if that's 38%?
So 56% of you said that men are more loyal in modern relationships.
Wow.
And 6% of you said that women.
How many people did you poll?
This was like 6,000 people.
Holy cow.
Yeah. 6,000 men, majority of the people that answer these, like maybe I get like 20 people that are women.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, my following, like the demographics of my following, 1% of my following is women. So like 3,700 people that follow me on Instagram specifically, where I'm polling these guys, are women. That's it. Out of the 370,000 followers that I have, only 3,700 are women. And because I had this page as my personal page before I turned it into my business page. So a lot of those women are like people that know me, that followed me before. I pretty much only get men following this account. And so that obviously explains why it's so skewed. And looking at the results, I think I originally was like, this is hilarious. Like, I think I maybe thought that the numbers would be a little bit closer, but also like really looking at the results, I think the exact same, if not higher, would be if we polled women on this exact same question. I think the results would be so much higher. Like it would be far and above away, like women saying that they're the more loyal ones in relationships.
And I'm like challenging myself to think, would I want them to believe that women are more loyal than they are? And I wouldn't.
Yeah, true.
Like I would actually want to be in a relationship with somebody who believes that they
loyal.
are loyal. So I guess that's...
And they're answering it from their own experience, right? So it is a really good thing that all these men are saying that they think that they're more loyal.
Yeah.
And that could be because they are. That could be because they've had experiences where they've been cheated on. Right? Like it actually makes a lot of sense why these numbers are the way they are. I am like surprised by how high the number was for the no one. It's a free for all these days. I think that's a lot of like the guy that wrote in the second submission. That's probably what he would have picked, right? Like he probably would have picked that answer. So it's interesting. I think that I think it's not because women aren't loyal. And this 6% of the 6,000 people that responded to it, most of them were men that responded to this. And I know that there are loyal people on both ends, men and women, that are loyal to the people that they want to be loyal to. Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not, I don't think it's like pinning men against women. Like, no, women are more loyal or men are more loyal. Like, I don't think that's helpful for anyone. I think that when you're with the right person and you have intentionally built a healthy relationship with them, I think the numbers would be probably pretty even. Like, I think cheating is something that is really dependent on each relationship and the situation of the relationship. And I think a lot less on like the actual people in it.
Right.
Like I said, like I don't believe
the gender.
Yeah.
I think that was a good poll. And I think it's just so interesting. There's a lot that has to do with the way you phrase it.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Because I think if you didn't say which one is more loyal.
I did say more loyal.
I know. But if you wouldn't have said more loyal, because they're having to pick one over the other, whereas it's being received as one is and one isn't. The way that we are interpreting it.
Yeah.
And that is probably not reflective of the way they really feel.
Yeah. No, I don't think 56% of you think that
men only are loyal and women aren't.
Yeah.
You're asking which one is more loyal. And of course, from their perspective, that only they would have. Yeah. They're going to say they are.
Yeah. No,
which is great. That's what I think we would want. Yeah. So good on you.
Yeah. Good on you, loyal men. We love it. Yeah, no, I think it's super interesting. I'm having a lot of fun with these polls. I think that I had, like I said, I have women that still follow me from when this was like a personal page of mine. And so I had some of the women that I know in my life that responded to the poll saying like they saw, you can see the results when you're at whatever stage it's at. Like when you click it, you can see based on how many people have responded so far, what the results are. And she was like, what the hell? Like, is this for real? Like men are not more loyal than women, basically. And that's from a woman's perspective, right? Like that is so interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
Fun little add to this week's podcast. And we're, I think, planning to do this every podcast.
Yeah.
So we meet late in the week to decide which submissions we're going to use in the recording. And it gives Gracie time to create a poll or two and get it up. So
yeah,
thanks for playing our little reindeer games. This was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, if you have a specific dating situation that you'd like our perspective on, please feel free to write in. We love getting submissions. We try to go through as many as we can. We've had like hundreds of submissions at this point.
Yep. Have your friend, and please share this with your friends, or if you have a friend who is in need, refer them to us, refer them to this podcast.
Send them an episode. If you have a friend that's been cheated on or is a serial cheater, maybe send them this episode.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening to Just Ask Her. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. And be sure to follow Gracie on TikTok and Instagram at @datingwithgracie. Thanks again for listening.